Hi, everybody. My name is Leah Gage, and I'm the program officer at VegFund. So I'm really excited to show you today Fluid Review, which is our new grant application system. Here is the brand new VegFund website, which we're also super excited about. If you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, please do so. It's at vegfund.org, and it has a lot better, I think, delineation of the sort of grants that we offer. It has a lot of resources available for activists and new grantees, lots of articles, lots of tools that you can use, a few webinars like this one. And then we also have this community section, which has a community forum, both for just activists in general and one specifically for VegFest organizers. And it's really cool. So I hope that you all have had a chance to look at it. So now I'm going to move on to Fluid Review. The first thing that you need to do is go to the new page. So you can either go up to the top right hand and click Apply Login, or you can just go to vegfund.fluidreview.com. It will take you to this nice registration page. If you haven't registered already, you'll click down here, sign up to create an account. And this information that you'll enter is just basic registration information. You'll need to create a new registration. Your current login and password will not work on the new system. So once you do that, you'll receive an email confirmation, and then you can sign in to start your application. So the way that Fluid Review is set up is that any sort of action that's needed to be taken by either the applicants or us on the back end is listed as a task. So the first two tasks when you first logged in and never created anything before will be your applicant profile, and then for organizations, a proof of tax exempt status. So when the task is not yet complete, its status will show as incomplete. It will show you the sort of actions you can take, and in this case, the only action we can take is start. So this information here is something you'll only need to enter once. This is just basically where we gather the information about the grantee themselves, rather than the project for which they're applying for a grant. So if you have an organization name, you would enter that here. You would enter your address, the state, your email address. If you're applying as an individual, you would select individual, but if you're applying on behalf of an organization, even a less formal organization, you don't have to be a 501c3 to qualify as an organization in this case. This is basically just so that we can collect the right information. So if you select organization, you would answer these questions. Does your organization advocate for vegan living, or is it just sort of a different type of organization? Are you a nonprofit or non-commercial entity? What type of organization are you? How old is your organization? If you select individual, it will just ask some basic demographic questions like your age range, your gender, and your location. The next page is going to ask your primary type of activism. So we have here basically animal rights, plant-based advocacy, like such as dietary and health-based activism, or whether it's climate or environment related. You'll select whichever one of those fits the best. You can select more than one. If you have a social media or online presence, you can enter all of these things in here. How many years of activism can you demonstrate? How many events does your organization do each year? So this is not, it says events, but this could also be projects, any sort of project that qualifies as activism. And then we're asked how you learned about VegFund. The final page is pretty simple. We're asking for your consent to include your information about your project or event on either our website, our social media page, or the Community Activist Forum. So you can take a look and see what the specific questions are. Feel free to answer no if you're not comfortable sharing this information. But one of the new added benefits of our website and community forum is that we're going to have a lot more interactability engaged, and so that a lot of our activists have been asking for ways to connect with other activists who are not necessarily in their own community, and so we want to be able to share that information. We'll have an events page and things like that. The last question is really trying to discover what sorts of skills you'd like to build as an activist. So there's lots of them listed here. If you have skills that you think you can offer that you would like to train on, either through a webinar or you think you know something that you could share with our activist base, you can enter that here. And then you'll click Save and Exit. And now you can see the applicant profile is listed as complete. As I said, if you're an organization, we ask that you upload some sort of proof of tax-exempt status. This is not required to move forward. So I'm not going to do it right here, but it's basically just an upload button. If you're not sure you have something like that, you can just leave it blank, and if we have any questions, we'll reach out to you. Once you've completed that, then suddenly some new tasks will open up. It'll show your grants. So this is a grant that I have received in the past. It's already listed because I already applied. But if I was brand new, there would be nothing showing up here. And I would click down here, View Grants. And this would show you the new grant areas that we have organized all of our different projects into. So in the past, we had prominently, I think food sampling was one application, video outreach was one application, and merit awards. Now, food sampling, paid per view, film screenings, veg fests, any kind of in-person outreach that you're doing in your community will fall into the community outreach category. Online campaigns, that's any kind of video outreach, any activists who create online-based activism, web-based outreach, that would be the online campaigns category. Learning events and tools are about creating trainings, tools, sharing your experiences either through online or in-person sort of tools or events. Research is fairly straightforward, any kind of research into vegan behavior change or animal welfare. And then our Reimagined Merit Awards category is now innovative outreach. And that application is a little bit more broad than our other applications and allows you to be a little bit more creative in explaining your idea. So all of these are relatively new. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can also click into each of these grant areas, and it will kind of give you a lay of the land and show you, explain a little bit more about what each grant category entails. But so once you've reviewed and you have an idea of which category you want to apply for, you would click Create Forms. I'm going to create an application for a basic food sampling today. There are other applications that can be applied, or there are other projects rather that can be applied for using this application, and I will show you those. But food sampling is one of our more popular activities, and it should be easy to show you the application using that. So community outreach. Here's your homepage for the application. If you like, you can add your own photo or a logo for your organization. Again, we have tasks that are listed as either complete or incomplete. The first task you need to complete is the title of your project or application. And this is something that will just sort of identify your application while you're working. When you go back into your system, and you can see once you've applied for more than one grant, you'll see different applications listed. So I'll just test food sampling 15, just because that's easy to recognize. It'll be something short, but something more that you can identify rather than us. And then you'll click Start for the community outreach application. All right, so this is a pretty basic application. I think it's just 4 pages. Similar to our old application, you'll briefly describe your event. You'll enter a start date and time if you have one. If it's all day, you can sort of make it as you would, but I'll put 8 a.m. If there is an end date, you would enter it. If it's just one day, you don't need to enter an end date. Is there a website for your event? You can paste it here. What is the location of your event or project? What kind of audience do you expect to reach? This is similar to our old application. Mostly, as you know, we're looking for projects that reach primarily non-veg communities. Are you hosting a stall at an existing event, or are you making your own event where you won't be having a stall? So you would answer yes or no there. How many non-vegan people do you expect to reach? And how many people overall do you expect to reach? So just use your best judgment when thinking about what the numbers to enter here. We know that it's hard to estimate those things, but just try to make a rough estimate. And if you have data from past events, then use that data to help you make this estimate. Who are your core team members? If it's just you, you would just enter your own information and select whether or not you're vegan. If there's more than one of you, you can enter in as many names and contact emails as you like. You don't have to enter any more than just yourself. We know that a lot of these events are volunteer run and that people don't always want their email entered or shared, and that's totally fine. This is mainly just for us to get an idea, and if you think other members of your team might be interested in receiving information from us, you can enter it there. Okay, so I was incorrect, and I said that there wasn't a required response to this question. I think I'm going to change that. We can see how this goes, but I think, yeah, I apologize for saying that, but as of this, right now, you can enter the end time, and that if it's the same day, you would just enter the same day and the time that the event would end. And then click next. Okay, are you receiving any additional financial support? This is mainly so that we can get a sense of what's out there for an activist such as yourself. Are there other grants that are supporting you? Are you receiving individual donations, any kind of sponsorships? Is this a ticketed event? So are you receiving any revenue or anything else? Even in-kind donations can be put in here because you can just enter an explanation. If not, you would just click no, meaning this is the only funding we're really seeking outside of our own funding, and then we'll know that you're not necessarily looking for any other support other than from VegFund. We want to know what your plans are for evaluating the response of your event. One of the key things we're going to be working on is helping to better understand what are the effective activism and outreach activities that people are undertaking. What's working and what's not, and are people thinking about how to figure out whether it worked or not? So we have a few options. You can create a survey, you'll send follow-up surveys, you'll write down responses from participants, like if you're doing a food sampling, and you can just sort of write down anecdotes. If you'd like to have more information, we can send you our resources. You can also check it out on the website. As before, we require that grantees offer some kind of educational literature, and so you have a few different organizations here that you can enter that you'll whose literature you'll be distributing. If you're not sure or you have somebody else, you can just enter that here. And then may we add your event to the VegFund events calendar? If yes, we can include a call for volunteers. We'd ask you to just make a brief public-facing description. And if you want to add contact information, that's fine. This will just be a little blurb that we post on our website. If you want to include a photo, that's great. If you don't want to include it, just click no, and that will go away. Sorry. All right, so then this page, in the past, we have required applicants to create different applications if they were doing things that were combined. A common one was often having food samples at a film screening, or food samples alongside a pay-per-view, or a film screening at a VegFest, or large vegan event. And so now you can combine these into one application. Based on what you select, certain questions will pop up, and you can see what kind of information we're going to be asking. It's fairly basic. At the beginning, I had said we would make this a food sampling application. So it will be asking specifically, what is your role? Are you renting a table or booth? This is similar to the question asked before, but we want to know if you're food sampling, if you're opening an event that's just yours on your own, we're curious what that's going to be like. And what specific food items do you expect to offer? That's similar to the old application. If you select paid per view, you'll see here it's asking about what types of videos, and we have that similar calculation that we have in previous applications, how many hours, how many tablets, and then we assume that 10 people per tablet can watch your short video each hour. If it's a film screening, it'll ask you about the documentary, what's the cost of the license. We hope that you'll find out ahead of time and reach out to the director, or at least look at the film's website just to try to find out what does doing a film screening entail. If you're not sure, then you can let us know, basically. Other elements to the film screening. And then for festivals and fairs, we're asking VegFest related questions. And if you have any kind of sponsorship information available. But we are going to make this a food sampling event, and we're going to offer toast turkey and cheese. Okay, this last page is asking about the budget. So as always, we are asking how much you're requesting from us, but then now we have a little bit broken down budget platform down here, where you can enter information, and hopefully if you're new to planning an event or you haven't thought about it, this can help you kind of break down the different expenses that will go into planning your project. So how much is your venue going to cost? What type of marketing and advertising are you going to do? What type of food samples are you going to have? You can explain these sorts of things in here. You don't need to, but if you would like to, you can, and it helps give us more information when we're evaluating your application. If you're offering literature and you have printing costs, you can enter that here. If you're offering pay-per-view incentives, what's the license to screen the film? What other costs do you have that aren't even taken into account here, and you can explain those. And then we'll see here the total amount of your budget. Obviously, this exceeds this amount here. So if you want to ask for less than your budget, that's fine. Then we'll know that either you have other plans for how to raise that money. It's more just so that we can get a better sense of what are the VegFund grantees working with here. And if it's constantly, if we see that it's often that they don't have other sources of funding, then that's important for us to know. Any additional information that you have, if you have marketing materials or an agenda or anything like that, you can upload here. Here's a quick note on our payment process. We're moving away from paper checks almost entirely and really trying to get everybody on our e-payment system or PayPal. And then click Save and Exit. Okay, so now our tasks show complete and complete. We can view or edit these applications at any time before you submit. But until you've submitted your application, we can't see it. So make sure you've completed everything that you'd like to complete. If you want to download your form so that you can save it for your files, you can do that here. But once you're ready, you'll click Submit Your Application. Continue. And now Test Food Sampling 723 has been submitted. So all of our tasks are listed as complete now. And there's no other task for us to complete because now we are waiting for VegFund to get back to us to let us know. You'll receive an email like you had before that will say, we've received your application, we'll get back to you soon. And then once we've reviewed it, then we'll get back to you and let you know whether it's been approved or if any changes are needed to your application. So I'm going to pause here. Fabiola's been, I've seen a few questions pop up, and I know that she's been responding. But I want to see if there's any specific questions that are coming up or anything that we can touch on more. Seems like not hearing anything, which hopefully means that things seem clear. I will show you the reporting side of things, just so you can see what that will look like for an application that's been completed. So down here, you can see these are the grants that are in complete status. Once this test food sampling has been approved on our end, it will move to incomplete, because that means there's a new task for you to complete, and that will show up down here below under your tasks. It'll say reporting and reimbursement, and then you'll know that that's the thing that you need to complete. So this is the Pittsburgh Veg Fest, which had been applied for and approved. In the reporting and reimbursement phase, you can see that all these tasks are complete. It's a fairly simple form that you would fill out. This is a PDF basically of the form. The questions that it's asking, it goes back into your budget, just very basic. What did you spend? It will input what you had estimated on your application. So that'll be interesting to see. Did I spend more? Did I spend less? Did I underestimate? And then it will give you your total amount eligible for reimbursement. We ask for an information about the event, what was most successful, what was most challenging, how did you evaluate the project, how many people did you reach, how many individuals attended your overall event, how many individuals received food samples. So that's for the food sampling. For pay-per-view, it'd be different. And then we ask some quick questions like, did you find this process challenging? Are you satisfied with the grant application process? And how long did it take you to complete this form? So with that form, you would upload your receipts and any photos. Unlike our old form, you can upload as many files as you like, which is really great. And then you would, like before, submit your report. And then it would move to incomplete, and then you would be waiting, basically similarly as before, whether you'd be waiting to receive contact either from myself or Amanda about whether we approved your reimbursement. So mainly our goal with this new system is to make it so that it's very clear what stages you're in. We hope that it's easy to go back and look at your old applications. You don't need to enter the applicant profile information each time. Before we had you do that, but now you can just enter it once. If it changes, you can change it at any time. Like if you're, for example, if you're applying as an organization and the organization's contact name changes, maybe you get somebody else in that position, you can change all of that information. So do we have any questions at all? Anything that's not clear? Any questions about the new grant program areas? Okay. So Fabiola is reminding me that I had showed an application, or what an email looked like. That yeah, so here you can see the community outreach application was submitted. There you see the information. It will come from the email address grants@vegfund.org. We have had a couple people say that the email may have gone to their promotions inbox if they're using Gmail, but I think that was in part because of the specific user, so I'm not sure if that will happen. But just make sure that when you've submitted your application, if you don't receive an email right away, look through some of your other inboxes and definitely let us know if it's going to spam or something else. Rocky asked about how long we anticipate it will take to fill out this application. So we've done some beta testing, and people have said no more than 1 hour. Really, it's about if you have all your information together. You know, we saw what we went over as far as what we're asking. So if you've thought this through and you know this information pretty well, then it shouldn't take you too long to complete the application. We had a question from Kip about applying to cover expenses to travel and do some speaking. So in the past, we really haven't funded travel expenses. And that's in part because we consider that to be capacity rather than programmatic expenses. And given the number of grant requests that we receive, We just haven't had the ability to cover those sorts of expenses because it can add up pretty quickly. I guess the short answer I will say is that we don't fund travel expenses. What I can say though is that if you can frame your application in a way that shows that the activity that's being undertaken is going to very clearly and to very clearly show that your activity is going to help increase the number of potential vegans, you know, especially that your activities are going to reach non-vegans and show them how to become vegan, then that's kind of what we're hoping to fund. So definitely reach out to us if you want to think of ways to kind of spin it, or think of ways to think about your budget in a way that will help us be able to cover your funding for your project. But the short answer is that at this time we don't fund travel expenses. I'm not seeing any other questions just yet. But I will say that if you think of any questions, think of anything that hasn't been covered, just reach out to us. You'll receive a confirmation email after the webinar, and it should have my email address, which is leah@vegfund.org, Leah. And just let us know if you come across problems. We've already had a few applicants reach out to us and make suggestions, and we've changed our application slightly as a result. So those things are really helpful for us to hear about. We will put the recording of this webinar up on our YouTube page, and you can find our YouTube page. If you go down to the bottom of our website, we have links to all of that stuff there. But it's also just, if you search VegFund on YouTube, you should find it. And so hopefully, if you have any questions and you want to go back and watch the webinar, you totally can. But also just, as I said, just email us and let us know what your questions are, and hopefully we can get back to you pretty quickly. It's great having Amanda and myself now on board to answer a lot of activist questions, and we've been able to be fairly responsive, so it's really good. So thank you all so much for coming today, and I hope that the application process goes as smoothly as possible, and I wish you all the best of luck in applying for grants from VegFund. And definitely let us know if you have questions or concerns. Thanks again for coming today. We really appreciate it.